She stood in front of everyone, raised her glass, and said with a laugh that could cut glass, "Maybe I should trade my husband for someone who actually knows how to have fun." The crowd burst out laughing. The music kept playing, and I stood there with a frozen smile, holding a plate of ribs I had just pulled off the grill. Everyone thought it was a harmless joke. Everyone except me. The truth was, I'd gotten used to her little public digs. Sarah always had a talent for turning me into a punchline. But that day, at our neighbor's block party, she went further than she ever had before. And when one man decided to take her joke seriously, everything changed. But before I tell you what happened next, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment if you've ever had someone embarrass you in public, because what I did next, nobody saw coming. It started as one of those perfect suburban weekends. The sky was cloudless. The smell of charcoal and sizzling meat drifted down the street, and everyone from the cul-de-sac had gathered in Tom and Julie's backyard. Coolers of beer lined the fence, kids ran between lawn chairs, and a Bluetooth speaker hummed with old rock songs. I was manning the grill, as usual, because that's what I do: quiet, dependable, steady. Sarah, on the other hand, was in her element, laughing with her friends, hair catching the sunlight, red nails glinting around her wine glass. She was the center of every conversation, every eye on her as she told story after story about how boring married life can be. At first, I ignored it. I'd learned long ago that if I didn't rise to her teasing, it would pass. But then, I heard my name again, louder this time, cutting through the chatter. "Seriously, though," she said, tilting her head toward her friends. "Who wants to trade? Mine's sweet, quiet, and perfectly happy doing nothing exciting. He even folds laundry like a champ. Any takers?" The laughter that followed wasn't just polite. It was genuine, deep, mocking laughter. Even a few of the husbands chuckled nervously. I saw my neighbor Mark glance at me, unsure if he should laugh or apologize. I gave him a tight smile, but inside, something twisted. Then came the voice that changed everything. "I'll take him," someone said from the far end of the patio. It was Rachel, our neighbor from across the street. Divorced, confident, the kind of woman who spoke her mind without hesitation. Her tone wasn't joking. She was smiling, but it was a calm, steady smile that made everyone else go silent. "I mean it," she said. "I could use a man who knows how to grill and doesn't think he's God's gift to women." The laughter stopped. The air changed. Sarah blinked, unsure what to do with the attention she'd just lost. "Oh, come on, Rachel," she said, waving her hand. "Don't be ridiculous." I was kidding. But Rachel didn't back down. "Were you? Because if you're serious, I'll take him. Seems like you don't appreciate what you've got." For a moment, nobody spoke. The kids' laughter in the yard faded, replaced by the crackle of the grill and the sound of a single beer can opening somewhere. My pulse thudded in my ears, but I stayed still, flipping a burger just to have something to do with my hands. Sarah looked around, searching for support that wasn't there. "Okay, wow, everyone relax," she said, her laugh high-pitched now. It was a joke. Everyone knows that. But she wasn't smiling anymore. Her cheeks had gone pink, and she kept glancing at me like she wanted me to save her. I set down the spatula, wiped my hands on a towel, and walked toward her. My heart was calm, surprisingly calm, like I'd been waiting for this moment for years. I stopped right in front of her, looked her in the eye, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Well, honey, I appreciate the free advertising. Seems like there's some demand out there after all." A few people chuckled awkwardly, but the laughter quickly died when they saw my face. "Maybe Rachel and I can discuss logistics later. When do you want me picked up?" Sarah's jaw dropped. "It was just a joke, Mike," she said, her voice trembling. "You're taking this way too seriously." I shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just realizing that you've been auditioning me for trade for a long time. Guess it's nice to see someone actually willing to make an offer." Rachel's smirk widened. "Offer still stands," she said softly. "Anytime." The tension snapped like a wire pulled too tight. Every head turned. Sarah's hands shook as she reached for my arm. "Can we talk privately?" she hissed. I gently pulled free. "Why? You didn't mind talking about me in front of everyone 5 minutes ago." She went pale. The entire yard was silent now. Neighbors staring, friends pretending to sip their drinks. Somewhere behind us, the grill hissed as a patty burned. And that's when I realized something simple but powerful. Humiliation only works if you let it. For years, I'd been the quiet husband who laughed it off. But that day, under the bright afternoon sun, I decided I was done laughing. Sarah's hand trembled as she tried to grab mine again, her smile frozen in place like a mask that was starting to crack. The silence was unbearable, heavy enough to choke on. I could feel every pair of eyes watching us, neighbors, friends, even the kids who'd stopped playing to see what the grown-ups were doing. Rachel stood with her arms folded, her expression unreadable but calm, confident, like she was watching justice unfold. "Mike," Sarah hissed through her teeth, her voice trembling. "You're embarrassing me." I let out a small laugh, not bitter, just quiet and sharp. "Embarrassing you? That's rich." She blinked, clearly not expecting that tone from me. I took a step closer, close enough for her to see that I wasn't joking anymore. "You're the one who stood up in front of all our neighbors and announced that your husband has no ambition and is up for trade. But sure, let's make this about your embarrassment." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "It was just a joke," she whispered again, but even she didn't sound like she believed it. "Then maybe," I said, "you should learn the difference between being funny and being cruel." Rachel gave a small, approving nod, which made Sarah's jaw clench. "You stay out of this," she snapped at Rachel. "This is between me and my husband." Rachel smiled faintly. "Was it? Because you seemed to make it everyone's business a few minutes ago." A low murmur ran through the crowd, people pretending to check their phones, shifting awkwardly. The perfect sunny barbecue had turned into a public reckoning. Sarah looked around desperately, like she was searching for someone to save her, but no one did. Even Julie, who normally defended her, was staring down at her wine like it was suddenly the most interesting thing in the world. That I stepped back, folding my arms. "You know," I said, "I've spent years pretending not to notice the little digs, the eye rolls, the way you talk about me like I'm some harmless pet that needs feeding and walking. I let it go because I thought that's just how marriage worked. But today I realized something. You don't joke about what you respect." The words hung there between us, heavy and final. Sarah's eyes shimmered, but not with tears, more with anger and humiliation. She opened her mouth again, but Rachel beat her to it. "He's right," she said quietly, her voice carrying. "A woman who truly values her man doesn't make him the punchline." Sarah turned on her like a storm. "You don't know anything about us." "I know enough," Rachel replied, her calm tone only making Sarah angrier. "I know that any woman who publicly mocks her husband for not being ambitious enough probably measures love in paychecks, not kindness." That was the moment something in Sarah snapped. Her voice rose, brittle and shrill. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? You think you can swoop in and play the wise, divorced neighbor with all the answers. Newsflash, Rachel, no one wants your opinion or your pity." Rachel didn't flinch. "Maybe not," she said softly, "but at least I don't humiliate the people I care about to feel better about myself." Sarah's face went red, her chest rising and falling as she tried to keep control. "Mike," she said finally, "we're going home." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. I looked at her, then at the faces around us, all frozen in disbelief. "Home," I repeated slowly. "That's funny, because right now, I can't think of a single place that feels less like home than where you are." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. No one moved, no one spoke. I turned, picked up the spatula, and flipped the last burger, the sizzle filling the air again. The moment had passed, but something fundamental had changed. Sarah stood there for a moment longer, looking around, hoping someone would laugh, or speak, or save her from herself. But no one did. Finally, she set her wineglass down on the table with a sharp click and stormed toward the house, her heels crunching on the gravel. The backyard slowly began to buzz again with low conversation, but the energy was different, muted, cautious. I stayed by the grill, finishing the burgers, pretending not to notice the whispers. Rachel stayed behind. When the last of the guests started drifting toward the gate, she walked up beside me, arms folded loosely. "You handled that better than most men would have," she said. I exhaled slowly. Not sure I handled it at all. Feels like I just detonated a bomb I didn't know was sitting under us. "Maybe it needed to go off," she said. I looked at her then, really looked. The way her hair caught the sunlight, the steady way she met my eyes without pity. "Maybe," I said, "but I didn't enjoy it." "You weren't supposed to," she replied. "Sometimes truth isn't meant to feel good. It's meant to clean out the infection." After the party, I stayed outside, cleaning up, stacking plates, dumping ashes. The sky was turning golden, and the sound of a lawnmower buzzed faintly in the distance. Through the kitchen window, I could see Sarah moving around, pacing, her phone in hand. She looked furious. I knew what was coming: a confrontation, accusations, maybe tears. But I wasn't afraid of it anymore. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like a background character in my own life. I felt steady. Rachel called out before heading home. "You ever need help cleaning up? I'm right across the street." I nodded. "Thanks." "And Mike," she added, smiling slightly, "you're worth more than she made you feel." That night, when I walked inside, Sarah was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, her expression cold and sharp. "What the hell was that?" she demanded. I hung my apron on the hook by the door and looked at her calmly. "That was you learning there are consequences for treating people like props in your little performances." Her nostrils flared. "Don't you dare talk to me like that." "Like what?" I asked. "Like an adult? Like someone who's done being your punchline?" Her voice broke, high and angry. "You humiliated me." I let out a quiet laugh. "No, Sarah. You humiliated yourself. I just stopped protecting you from it." She didn't answer right away. She just stood there, breathing hard, eyes full of shock. And for the first time since the day we got married, I wasn't scared of what came next. Sarah's face was still flushed when she turned away, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. The sound of her heels hitting the hardwood echoed through the quiet house. "You're overreacting," she finally said, her voice shaking. "It was a stupid joke, Mike. Everyone knew that. You made it a spectacle." I leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching her spin in circles. "You humiliated yourself," I said evenly. "I didn't do anything except stop pretending that I'm okay being the target every time you get bored or want attention." She stopped pacing, glaring at me. "So what? You're the victim now?" Poor Mike. Always misunderstood. I raised an eyebrow. "Victim? No. But I'm done being the clown at your parties." She scoffed, grabbing a glass from the counter and pouring herself more wine. "You're unbelievable. One joke, and suddenly I'm the villain." "It wasn't one joke," I said quietly. "It's been years of them. The little digs in front of your friends, the sarcastic remarks about my job, the eye rolls every time I talk about something I care about. You've been eroding respect one laugh at a time." She rolled her eyes and took a sip. "You're being dramatic." I smiled slightly. "No, Sarah. You're just finally being called out." Her expression hardened. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." I shook my head. "No, I told the truth in front of everyone. You embarrassed yourself when you auctioned off your husband like a clearance item." The glass in her hand trembled slightly, and she set it down harder than necessary. "You think you're so righteous now because that witch across the street took your side?" I sighed. Rachel didn't take my side. She just called out what everyone else was too polite to say. Sarah's mouth twisted. "Of course she did. That woman's been circling like a vulture since her divorce. She's probably thrilled to see our marriage in trouble." I pushed off the counter and stepped closer. If our marriage can be broken by one woman making a comment, then maybe it wasn't much of a marriage to begin with. That hit her. I could see it in her eyes, the sudden flash of something that looked a lot like fear. She turned away and grabbed a towel, pretending to clean the counter just to have something to do. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately," she muttered. "You used to let things go." I laughed softly. "Yeah, I did. And every time I did, you took a little more. A little more respect, a little more pride, a little more of me. And you never noticed, because you thought I'd always stay quiet." She spun around. "What? Are you planning to leave me now? Over a barbecue joke?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But for the first time, I'm thinking about what life looks like when I stop making excuses for you." She froze, her eyes wide. "You're not serious." "I am," I said, my voice steady. "I've been living in this house like a ghost, Sarah. Smiling when you mock me, nodding when you talk over me, laughing at jokes I don't find funny just to keep the peace. I've been surviving, not living." She blinked rapidly, as if trying to keep tears from forming. "You're being cruel." "No," I said quietly. "I'm being honest." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched so long I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Then she said, "So what happens now?" "That's up to you," I said. "But things can't go back to the way they were. Not after today." That night, I slept in the guest room. I could hear her crying softly through the wall, but I didn't move. It wasn't anger keeping me still. It was exhaustion. Emotional, mental, spiritual exhaustion from years of walking on eggshells. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to fix it. The next morning, I woke to the smell of bacon and eggs. When I came downstairs, she was at the stove, smiling like nothing had happened. "Good morning," she chirped. Her tone was painfully fake. "I made your favorite breakfast." I poured myself coffee and sat down. "What's this about? Can a wife not cook breakfast for her husband?" "This wife doesn't usually," I said flatly. Her smile faltered. "I wanted to make things right." "By pretending nothing happened?" I asked. "By pretending you didn't try to sell me off in front of 20 people." Her jaw clenched. "You're not going to let that go, are you?" "Would you?" I asked. "If I stood up in front of everyone and called you lazy, boring, and replaceable, would you just laugh it off?" She stared at me for a long time. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." Before she could answer, there was a knock on the door. Through the window, I saw Rachel standing there, holding a mug. Sarah's entire body stiffened. "Don't answer it," she said quickly. I ignored her and opened the door. "Morning," I said. "Morning," Rachel smiled. "Sorry to bother you, but I ran out of sugar. Thought I'd borrow some." "Of course," I said, stepping aside. Sarah appeared behind me, her smile tight enough to crack her face. "Oh, Rachel, what a surprise. Hope I'm not interrupting anything," Rachel said innocently. "Not at all," I said. "We were just talking." "Perfect," Rachel replied. "Then maybe I'll join." I brought coffee. Sarah looked like she wanted to scream, but she couldn't without looking crazy. Rachel sat down at the table, and I handed her a cup. "So," Rachel said casually, "about yesterday, quite the show, huh?" Sarah slammed her fork down. "I'd rather not discuss that." "Really?" Rachel smiled. "Because I've been thinking about it. The more I think about it, the more I realize what a shame it is." "A shame?" Sarah snapped. "Yes," Rachel said softly. "That some people don't realize what they have until someone else points it out." The room went cold. Sarah's hand tightened on her glass, her knuckles white. "You're out of line," she said through clenched teeth. "Maybe," Rachel said. "But at least I know how to treat a good man when I see one." Sarah's voice rose. "Get out of my house." "Your house." Rachel tilted her head. "Funny. I thought it was his name on the mortgage." I watched the color drain from Sarah's face, and for the first time, I didn't feel sorry for her. I just felt done. Sarah's breathing was shallow, and her voice trembled with anger as she pointed toward the door. "You heard me. Get out." Rachel stayed perfectly calm, sipping her coffee as if she had all the time in the world. "I'll go when I finish this cup," she said quietly. Sarah turned to me, desperate now. "Mike, tell her to leave." I leaned back in my chair, watching both of them. "Why?" "She hasn't done anything wrong." Sarah's face twisted with disbelief. "You can't be serious." "She's in our kitchen." "My kitchen?" I interrupted. "I paid for it. I maintain it. I clean it." "So, technically, yes. She's in my kitchen." That stopped her cold. She blinked, as if realizing something she hadn't wanted to acknowledge before. Rachel glanced at her mug, then back up at Sarah. "You know," she said softly, "I can see why you're upset. You spent years treating him like background noise, and now you're realizing the background's more solid than the whole picture." Sarah's voice cracked. "You don't know anything about us." "I know enough," Rachel replied. "I know what I saw yesterday. A woman so desperate for validation, she humiliated the only person in the yard who actually cared about her." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Please, you think this is some romantic comedy where the nice neighbor saves the sad husband? Don't flatter yourself." Rachel smiled faintly. "You're right. It's not a romantic comedy. It's a wake-up call." Sarah's eyes darted between us, and I could see the panic rising. "You're trying to steal my husband," she said finally. Rachel shook her head. "No, Sarah. You're the one who put him on the market." Sarah looked like she'd been slapped. I stood up and took a slow breath. "Enough," I said. "Both of you. This isn't about Rachel. It's about the fact that our marriage has been a slow-motion train wreck for years, and yesterday just made it impossible to ignore." Sarah's lips trembled. "You're not really thinking of leaving me over this." "I'm not thinking," I said. "I've already decided." She staggered back a step as if the words hit her physically. "You can't mean that." "I do," I said simply. "You've spent years telling me I'm not enough. Not ambitious enough, not exciting enough, not successful enough. And I've spent years believing you. But standing out there yesterday, hearing you mock me in front of everyone we know, I realized something. No matter what I do, It'll never be enough for you because you don't want a husband. You want an audience. Rachel stood silently now, watching, but her eyes were sympathetic. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I can change, she whispered. I'll be better. I'll stop saying things like that. I shook my head. It's not about what you say. It's about how you see me. And that doesn't change overnight. She crossed the kitchen and grabbed my arm. Please don't do this. We've been together for 8 years. Exactly, I said. 8 years of me walking on eggshells while you treat me like a project that failed inspection. I'm done. She let go of my arm and backed away, her expression shifting from desperation to anger. This is her fault, she snapped, pointing at Rachel. She's poisoned you against me. Rachel didn't even blink. If honesty feels like poison, maybe the problem isn't me. Get out, Sarah screamed. Now, Rachel calmly set her mug on the counter. Thanks for the coffee, she said quietly. And Mike, call me if you need anything. She walked out, her heels clicking against the floor, leaving only the sound of Sarah's uneven breathing behind her. As soon as the door closed, Sarah turned on me. You can't just throw everything away because of one stupid mistake. Sarah, I said, this isn't about one mistake. It's about a pattern. You've been eroding this marriage piece by piece for years. Yesterday just showed me the cracks I've been pretending not to see. You're exaggerating, she said. We can fix this. We'll go to counseling. We could have done that a long time ago, I said. You never wanted to talk unless it was about what I needed to change. So that's it, she demanded. You're just walking away? No, I said quietly. I'm reclaiming the self-respect I gave up to keep you comfortable. She stared at me in disbelief, tears streaking her cheeks. I gave up everything for this marriage. I tilted my head. You gave up nothing. You stopped working, you stopped caring, and you treated me like an employee whose performance review was never good enough. Her face went pale. That's not fair, isn't it? I asked. You've been unemployed for over a year, and instead of gratitude, all I've gotten is criticism. You call me lazy when I'm the one keeping the lights on. You joke about trading me in because you think you can do better. But tell me, Sarah, what exactly do you bring to the table? She looked at me like I'd slapped her. I'm your wife, she whispered. That used to mean something. It did, I said, until you stopped acting like it. She started crying harder now, her shoulders shaking. What am I supposed to do? Figure it out, I said. Get a job. Get help. Do something other than tearing me down. She wiped her tears, her voice trembling. You're really leaving. I'm really done, I said. I walked past her, grabbed my jacket, and opened the front door. She called after me. You'll regret this. I turned back, meeting her eyes. The only thing I regret is waiting this long. Then I walked out. For the next few days, the house was quiet. She stayed with her sister, and I stayed with my peace. I mowed the lawn, fixed the broken porch light, grilled dinner for one. It felt strange at first, too calm, too empty, but then it started to feel right. A week later, Rachel stopped by. How's freedom treating you? She asked with a smile. Weird, I admitted. But, good weird. She nodded. Good. You earned it. 3 weeks passed before Sarah showed up again. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. I got a job, she said quietly. At the coffee shop downtown. Good, I said. You needed that. Can we talk? She asked. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You made your choice when you decided I wasn't worth respecting. You can't mean that, she whispered. I do, I said. You don't get to treat someone like dirt and then panic when they finally walk away. Her lip trembled. So this is it. Yeah, I said softly. This is it. As she left, Rachel walked up the driveway, holding a bag of groceries. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded slowly. Yeah, finally. She smiled, handing me a can of coffee. You know what's funny? She said. Sometimes the person who tries to make a joke out of you ends up being the punchline of their own story. I couldn't help but laugh. You might be right. We sat on the porch as the sun dipped below the trees, the light golden and peaceful. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't treading lightly. I was freed out. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life.